I want you to. Imagine spending 3 years of your life building something that genuinely matters. Not a side project. Not a weekend hobby. I mean the kind of work that consumes you. Early mornings, missed birthdays. Cold dinners eaten at a desk with a second monitor glowing at 11 at night. That was me. That was the ARIA predictive scheduling system. And for 3 years, I believe the company I gave that to actually saw me. My name is Daniel Marsh. I'm a software engineer based out of Manchester, though I spent 2 years of this story working remotely for a mid-size logistics firm headquartered in Chicago called Vantaroot Solutions. I joined in 2019, relatively junior, hungry to prove myself. My direct manager was a man named Craig Ellison, Director of Product Innovation. Charming, polished, the kind of guy who always had the right thing to say in a room full of executives and absolutely nothing useful to say when you were stuck at 2 in the morning debugging a routing algorithm that was failing under load. ARIA was my idea. I pitched it in January 2021. A machine learning system that would predict delivery bottlenecks up to 72 hours before they occurred, dynamically rerouting driver assignments based on live traffic, weather, and historical package density patterns. Craig sat across from me in that video call and said, and I remember this precisely, "Daniel, if you can build this, it'll be the most valuable thing this company has ever owned." So I built it. I documented every decision, every version, every model iteration. I kept a private engineering journal, timestamped commits in the company's GitHub repository, and I saved every email thread where Craig and I discussed scope, milestones, and system architecture. Not because I was suspicious. I just had good habits. My university tutor always said, if you didn't write it down, you didn't do it. By October 2022, ARIA was live. Within 6 weeks of full deployment, Vantaroot reported a 19% reduction in delayed deliveries across their Midwest corridor. The CFO sent a company-wide email, calling it a landmark operational breakthrough. There was talk of a patent filing. There was talk of a bonus. There was even a mention of a principal engineer title with a significant salary adjustment. I found out about the patent filing through a Slack message, not from Craig, not from HR, not from legal, from a colleague named Sophie who worked in compliance and had stumbled across the application while auditing a document folder. She messaged me on a Thursday afternoon. "Hey, did you see the ARIA patent draft? Weird, it lists Craig as sole inventor." I read that message 4 times. I want to be honest about what happened inside me in that moment. It wasn't rage. Not immediately. It was something colder. A slow, nauseating recognition that the person I had trusted completely, the person who had approved my overtime, who had sat on calls with me at midnight, who had said, "We'll make sure you're recognized for this," Daniel, had submitted a formal legal document to the United States Patent and Trademark Office with his name and his name alone attached to the invention I had spent 37 months of my life building. I closed my laptop. I sat in my kitchen for about 20 minutes. Then I opened it again, because I had everything, every commit, every email, every design document with my name and date stamp embedded in the metadata. I had a paper trail so complete it was almost beautiful. And Craig Ellison, for all his charm and political savvy, had made one catastrophic miscalculation. He thought I was too polite to use it. I didn't go to HR first. That was a deliberate choice. HR at a company like Vantaroot exists to protect the company, not the employee, and Craig had been there for 11 years. He played golf with the VP of operations. He was embedded. Going to HR would have given them time to prepare a narrative, and I had no interest in giving Craig Ellison a single hour to get ahead of this. Instead, I contacted an IP solicitor in Manchester, a woman named Priya Chatterjee who specialized in software patent disputes and employee intellectual property claims. I sent her my documentation on a Friday evening. She called me Sunday morning. Her first words were, "Daniel, this is actually quite a strong case." Over the next 2 weeks, Priya drafted a formal letter of claim, addressed directly to Vanderoot's legal department in Chicago, outlining my authorship evidence, citing UK and US intellectual property frameworks, regarding employee-created inventions, and formally requesting the patent application be corrected to reflect accurate inventorship or suspended pending review. The letter arrived on a Tuesday. By Wednesday afternoon, I received a calendar invite from Vanderoot's general counsel, a woman I had never spoken to before, requesting an urgent call. Craig was not on the invite. That told me everything. The call lasted 40 minutes. I said very little. Priya did most of the talking. The general counsel, to her credit, did not attempt to defend what had happened. She asked clarifying questions, used careful language, and at one point there was a pause on the line that lasted nearly 8 seconds. 8 seconds of corporate silence that felt like watching a very expensive building slowly understand it is on fire. What followed over the next 6 weeks was the kind of institutional reckoning that most people in my position never get to witness. An internal audit of the ARIA project documentation was ordered. 3 members of the engineering team were interviewed. Craig was placed on administrative leave pending investigation, a fact I learned through Sophie, who had become something of an unlikely ally through this entire process. I won't pretend the outcome fixed everything. These things never do. But here is what actually happened. The patent application was formally corrected. My name was added as primary inventor. Craig Ellison resigned before the investigation concluded, officially for personal reasons. But Sophie told me the audit had uncovered other irregularities that went well beyond ARIA. Apparently, I was not the first person whose work he had quietly claimed. Vanderoot settled with me out of court. I'm not permitted to disclose the exact figure, but I will say this: I no longer need to work for a company that doesn't value me. I consult now. I set my own hours. I have a home office with a standing desk and a window that looks out over the Peak District, and I make my own coffee at whatever time I please. The morning after the settlement was finalized, I went back through my engineering journal, the one I had kept from day one, the one Craig never knew existed. I read the very first entry, dated January the 9th, 2021. It said, "Pitched ARIA today. See, Ellison says if this works, it could be the most valuable thing the company has ever owned." I closed the journal, put it on the shelf, and thought, he was right. It just turned out to be valuable for me. To anyone reading this who is sitting at a desk right now, building something remarkable for people who have already decided they won't give you the credit, document everything, timestamp everything, trust the quiet voice that says your work has worth even when the room full of important people acts like you are invisible, because the paper trail doesn't lie, and eventually, neither does the legal system.